you needed to do this because no one else is doing this. And in the time that you've been doing this, there is still nobody fucking doing this. There is so much dishonesty, so much manipulation. You call it malfeasance, malpractice, whatever we want to call it. It's institutional tinkering and meandering that is paying lip service to a culture, the legacy culture that they don't understand in order to profit from us. And it seems that in America, in the various states, obviously it's broken down state by state, but even in some ways, region by region in some ways, because of the town laws, etc. I mean,
yeah, I do all the compliance, regulatory, licensing, permitting, and it's horrible. It's hopscotch. It's every state is different. Every city is a little different. It's crazy. And like what you said earlier, the greed, it really is sad. I mean, it's a two-edged sword. I just turned 62. I smoked a joint when I was 16. Felony, go to jail for a long fucking time when I first smoked a joint. And we did it and I went and got my weed from places this guy shouldn't have probably been. But we never had any issues. It was people selling weed, but still it was sketchy. And we had to go back in this park way in the corner where late at night, it was insane. And so my point is the politicians, the only fucking reason they went forward with quasi-legalization, because no state is legal. People need to understand that. Recreational, it's legal now with 30 states. No, it's not. It's legal to a degree because there are still in every single state felony, misdemeanors, and infractions for cannabis cases. If you have too much than the limit that you can have as a adult user, that's a crime. You have more than an ounce in California, that's a misdemeanor. I mean, there's still crime. So it's not as legal as people think. But my point was the politicians justified it by we can tax the shit out of it. We can make money. And that was the wrong attitude because it's not making the money they thought it would because of the over-regulation, over-taxes, over-taxation, over-licensing. I mean, we could set up a legal business prior to 2018, 25, 30 grand. You want to come in, you want to start a legal cannabis business? We got you. 25, 30 grand, you're set up.
And we're on retainer for a year to cover you.
Now you come into my office to set up a legal cannabis business in the state of California. And we tell people, don't kill the messenger, but, do you have $500,000 as a minimum? As a minimum, maybe $250 if you're going to do a small delivery service, but still, it's $250,000. We called ourselves the Dream Busters the first year or so of the rollout. We had all the old school coming in, the mom and pops and couples and people who had their little stores, their little grows, and we had to tell them, do you have X amount of money? And of course, no one does. And so, but yeah, the greed on behalf of the government is killing the legal market.
It's fueling the black market, though. That's just going off the hook here in California because they just can't keep up.
And it creates a grey area, as you say. There's a nuance of language. I wanted to actually check, since you're both lawyers. Am I correct with this sign? Where is it?
You have lots of signs there.
These are all my protest signs from many events in the UK. I don't know if my camera's the right way around. So that's the way it is in the UK currently. And so it's legal versus lawful. And it seems to be that, I'm a stickler for words, but I was kicked out of mainstream secondary school. So I may be wrong here, but I do argue with my guests quite often about it. But there's legal, lawful. And so it seems to be that the American legalization, or what I have written in Weed World magazine about, I term neo-legalization, because it seems to be the neoliberals, as in Thatcher, Reagan, those kind of individuals after, I think, cocaine and fucking excess. They're the boys at the top that are funding all of this. So although we've organically had the right people move into the right sort of spaces, in the US, it seems there's at least a slight separation. It's obfuscated. The politicians and it's their mates that are buying it, whether it be, you know, their investors through BlackRock and fucking Vanguard and those sorts of institutions. Over here in the UK, our front bench politicians are invested in these companies. There is open contradictions. There is open hypocrisy. I mean, our former drugs minister a few years ago had to recuse herself from discussing cannabis because her husband was the managing director of a company called British Sugar, who had a side business growing cannabis for GW Pharmaceuticals. And so it seems that we've distilled your sort of beer version. We've now got an absinthe of what we're trying to get in legalization in Europe, and they've completely ringed the culture. And unless you were going to go be a mouthpiece and just go, this company's amazing, this brand, this whatever, they are steamrolling the culture. And it feels like, at least in California and other few places, you've still got, because of a few of the legacy people got through, because of almost the time between 215 and 64, as in the two props, that gave a credence and an understanding. A lot of politicians, lawyers, people like yourself, professional class went, I can step out of the cupboard, the grow room, I can be public. And that gave a respectability to it that as it then transitioned, they found that weak point, you know?
It's you know, interesting you bring that up because the funny thing is there's a lot of people from the old market that have made it. They've had brands. I mean, one is my son. He had a brand in the old market that was so strong that, you know, he continued into the legal market. Not an easy transition. It is brutal going from driving a Maybach to a Toyota. Literally in the new legal market. And we're talking about, you know, a brand that's in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stores in California. But I've seen, and it's good. I don't like to say ha ha ha, but a lot of big corps came in, set up shop, spent $9 million on a manufacturing facility for volatile extraction. I represented a client who bought it for 3.1. So and there's a lot of these people exiting the industry. A lot of these people have taken. I did another deal just closed the deal where my client bought a license that if it was an ongoing, if it was really making money and working, it'd be worth $3-4 million. They bought it for $425,000. That's half of what it costs to get it up and running. So these are turnkey that people just don't know what they're doing. And it's mind-boggling. Everybody jumped in. And one of the other things, and maybe because we can talk about this for probably ever. We can talk about STFU stuff too next, but everybody wanted to get in, and a lot of attorneys, unlike me, I'll sit there. My brother teases me and gets mad because I probably talk more people out of this than in, because I don't talk them into anything. I don't want you to get involved because a lot of attorneys, let's get started. 10, 20 grand retainer, 500 an hour. Let's go. Okay, let's start. And all of a sudden,
a week later,
need another 10 or 20 grand attorney fees. And now all of a sudden you're in 100 grand. And because I've had people go, I got about 100 grand. I said, dude, no, you're going to burn it. You're going to burn through it. And that's it. I'm going to make my 10 grand and you're going to burn through it and be unhappy. I go, don't do it. You know, if you really want to do it and you think you can fund it, then, go ahead. But I'm telling you up front, don't do it.